Shalom, I'm Rabbi Mendy Cohen from Chabad of Sacramento. Welcome to the first episode of Pirkei Avot. What is Pirkei Avot? And why do we study it in the summer months? Pirkei Avot is one of the chapters of the Mishnah, and it tells us, most of the Mishnah tells us not morals and values, not about how we should be thinking, but tells us the laws. Pirkei Avot tells us morals and values, very important ones. Tells us how to live, how to approach life. And they're given over by the rabbis from all the generations. The Pirkei Avot begins with the first line is, Moses received the Torah from Sinai. To tell us that these morals and values were not made up by people. You see, when people make up morals and values, they change. They change with the time. People know in the 20s, they did abortion. And in the 20s, abortion was illegal. They locked people up for doing abortion. But stock tipping was fine. Today, it's just the opposite. Abortion is in, people do it, and stock tipping is terrible, and they're punished by prison time. Because these are not real morals and values. They change with the time, with the people, with the mood. It tells us in Pirkei Avot, Moshe kibel Torah miSinai, Moses got it. These are divine words that never change. And they tell us how to think and how to feel about life and our attitude. It's attitudes. We will focus today on one of the attitudes. It's actually an attitude that changed Jewish life. The Mishnah reads on Pirkei Avot, chapter 1, Mishnah 3. It says the following. Antignois, the man of Socho, received the oral tradition from Shimon the righteous. He used to say, you see, in the first chapter of Pirkei Avot, every Mishnah is another generation. There's the rabbis who received the Torah and taught it to the entire Jewish nation, and they had their favorite saying that guided their generation, and that's the first chapter. So Antignois Isoichoi said the following: do not be like servants who serve their master on the sake of receiving reward, but rather be like servants who serve their master without the intent of receiving a reward. Don't serve God for heaven, for frequent flyer points. Serve God because we're lucky to serve God. This Antignois Isoichoi who said this saying, they were two students, Tzodok and Baisos, and they heard this. They said, oh guys, there is no heaven, there is no hell, let's party. They became heretics, and they were known as the Tzedukim and the Baisusim, named on the students of Antignois Isoichoi, because they didn't understand. They were serving God to get a reward. So once he says, don't serve God for a reward, so what am I doing this for? I'll be a good boy, I'll study, I'll pray, and every time I do that, I'll get a point, and in heaven, it's going to be amazing. But what's the motivating factor? That's why actually it says in the Mishnah 11, Aftalion said, be careful, rabbis, with what you say, because people can get the wrong understanding. What was Antignois Isoichoi trying to say? He was saying there's reward. He wasn't, that says in the Bible, in the Talmud, he wasn't saying there is no reward. He was saying there's something so much greater than reward. You can't have a reward for a mitzvah. You're connecting with the infinite. You're connecting with God who always was and never wasn't. It's eternal. It's the connection with God. Mitzvah means commandment, and mitzvah means connection. Connection with the essence of God. We are here for 70, 80 years, here today, gone tomorrow. When we study Torah and do a mitzvah, we become connected with the infinite, with the everlasting. It's so powerful, a mitzvah. There's a beautiful idea from the Rebbe Maharash. The Rebbe Maharash explained this Mishnah very beautifully. He says, you have cold, the cold in the winter, and you have the ice. What's colder? The cold, the frost, or the actual ice? The frost is much colder. The ice itself is not that cold. Because the siba, this something that makes something, is much greater than what it creates. It's a lower degree, it's a lower level. So the mere fact that we connect to God, there's nothing like it. Because it causes Moshiach, it causes heaven, it's everything. We are not privy to see what we are doing. We're blindfolded. Had we seen it, there would be no choice. There would be no struggle. It would be all from... Of course we would do mitzvahs. Nothing else has meaning or value compared to our mitzvah and Torah. We are not privy to see that. Antignos Yishoichai was trying to elevate his students. He was telling them, don't do it just to get a reward. That's nothing. Do it because we're lucky to be connected with the infinite. And a mitzvah is so amazing that it causes everything because it's so powerful. There's a story told in the Holocaust. There was a learned man, and he was in the concentration camp. And it was coming time for Passover, and they needed matzah. There was no matzah. So there was a young guy there who was contemplating suicide in this difficult situation. And the rabbi hugged him, and they studied, and he said, don't take your life, it's like murder. And they became very good friends. And they were getting ready for Pesach. And he stole some wheat. He grinded the wheat in the concentration camp. And he made 3 matzahs. And he was carrying the matzah. And the SS guard said, Jew, what are you carrying? He beat him up, bloodied him up. He was feeling horrible. His matzah is out the window. But he gathered a couple of crumbs. He was able to save. He was able to save a couple of crumbs. He came, and there was only enough for one person to do the mitzvah. His teacher told him, he said, I did all the work. I want this matzah. His teacher said, let's make a deal. I'll eat the matzah, but you will get the reward for the mitzvah. He said, good deal. He ate the matzah. Years later, this person who ate the matzah, this learned rabbi, was shot. He didn't make it out of the concentration camp. But the young boy who made the matzah, he made it to Israel. He had children and grandchildren. And one day he comes into the synagogue. He said, I had an amazing dream, a horrific dream. My learned friend comes to me from heaven and says, do me a favor. I gave you the reward. Please give it back to me. And he says, what do you mean we had a deal? I nearly died for these matzahs. No deal. He came to his rabbi, and the rabbi said, listen, you got to Israel. You made many Pesachs. He didn't make a Pesach. Go to the Holy Ark and tell him you got it. He never got to do it after. This was his last Passover of his life. And he did it. And he had a dream again that the person came to him. You don't know what you did for me. Thank you for allowing me to have the reward. I could enter amazing chambers in heaven. It's a story told. The idea behind the story is that we don't know how amazing a mitzvah is. The reward in heaven is only something a little bit from a mitzvah. The fact that we connect with the infinite, with God, is so powerful. And the pleasure God has from our good deeds. It's connected with the essence of God. This is what Antignos Isoiche was trying to teach his students. That's why the Mishnah says, chapter 4, Mishnah 17, that one moment of Torah is best than the whole heaven. One moment. Because heaven is only a ray of godliness, not the essence of God. The mitzvah is greater. Even though the Mishnah says that one moment of pleasure in heaven is better than this whole world, but the mitzvah is so amazing. May we take from this Pirkei Avot the great excitement when we do our mitzvah, when we say the Shema at night, or the Shema in the morning, or we count the Sfirat HaOmer. We have to know how amazing it is that we get to cause God pleasure by us doing these amazing mitzvahs, or eating matzah on Pesach. This is a little vitamin of the Pirkei Avot to give us strength to be so excited when we get to do something for the God Almighty, the Creator of heaven and earth. God bless you all.